All right, everybody, here we go again. It is Wednesday, and we're going to get into a lot of different things tonight. Hey, do you know the Madmen are coming? They really are. They're coming, and your church very well may be at risk. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. And before we get into that, I want to give you some just some preliminary info. First of all, I'll probably talk about this 2 or 3 times tonight. Hot off the press, we have 5,000 of these cards, and we are going to be praying for people, and then after we pray for them, they won't know we're praying for them. We'll walk up and we'll give them one of these cards, and we have 5,000 of these suckers. I mean, I have a whole box full, and so we need people to join with us and to pray and to pass out these cards at Winterfest. Okay, so that's this Saturday, and it's from 4 to 6 p.m. Contact me for all the info. It's simple. Could not be more simple. We're going to meet at 4 o'clock sharp right in front of Joe Louis Arena, downtown Detroit, and we are connecting with Family Life Radio. They may have their van there. They may not, depending on what they're allowed to do in terms of parking it. But regardless, we will be at the front entrance, at the front steps there. And you are not only invited, but you are exhorted to connect with us. Maybe you've never done anything with our ministry before. Well, now is most definitely the time. I want to meet you. I'm going to be there hanging out with you all. And I absolutely, most definitely want to connect with you, want to meet you, and I want to see God do just phenomenal things in your life. And I'm ready, man. I'm ready to see Detroit just explode in the spirit of revival. I'm ready for people's lives to get rocked, and so we're going to be there. Again, it's from 4 to 6 p.m. This is before the event takes place. And so people will be in line outside. There'll be groups coming in. This is the Newsboys and a bunch of different bands is what this event is. And so there's going to be a lot of young people and those that may have heard about Jesus but don't really know him. And so we're going to pray for them and see what God does. And so Family Life Radio is blitzing this. They interviewed me a couple times. One of the interviews is going to be playing tomorrow. Just encouraging, exhorting, calling, people to gather together just for a couple of hours. And you don't have to worry if you are an introvert and you're stressed out by this kind of stuff. Don't worry. You can just walk around and pray, really, and hang out with us. And it's not going to be high-level confrontational. I know sometimes it's like, I don't think I can do that. You absolutely can do this. In fact, not only can you do this, but it's things like this that really change lives. Not only the people that we'll be praying for, but you. Step out of that comfort zone and step into an opportunity to see Jesus just blow people up. I mean, that's what I want. I'm excited about that. And so again, that's this Saturday, February 22nd. We're going to be passing these cards out and at Joe Louis Arena and at Winterfest. So contact me for information. I'll throw the email address up here. You can contact me at live@thefurnace.tv. You might say, John, I'd like to come. Can you give me more information? How can we be sure that we connect? Whatever your question might be, and definitely want to connect with you. Want to hear from you. So email me live@thefurnace.tv. Additionally, you can email that address throughout this live broadcast. And I've got my email sitting right in front of me, and I'm ready to answer questions. I'm ready to connect with you, and we'll talk about what's on your heart, regarding revival, regarding what we're going to be talking about tonight. And so awesome. I mean, it's going to be great. Additionally, right over here, if you're on thefurnace.tv, you can chat with us, and that's probably the best way for you to let your voice be heard. And we had another great night of discussion last night, and so use that chat room right over there. Some of you are watching on YouTube. And so the chat room's not there, of course, but if you go to thefurnace.tv/live, you'll see this video and you will see the chat room. And so excellent. I mean, amazing things are going on. And I have another very exciting announcement. Starting this Monday, The Furnace is going to be on local Detroit radio during drive time. Man, this is a great time of the day. And so it's going to be Monday through Friday at 4:45 p.m. And so starting this Monday, and it's going to be 15 minutes of fire every weekday. And so you can tune in starting Monday afternoon. All right, good. Let's see. We have a lot of cool things, that we want to hit on tonight. And let's see here. I'm checking on something, make sure that it's looking the right way. Yeah, I think we're good. Sorry about that. Sometimes technically, I just got to make sure everything's cool. And so jump into that chat room right now. I'm looking at it, and I see chats from yesterday. Nothing from today. I'd like to hear from you. And so what I'm going to do is give me a moment. So sorry about this. All right. I'm sorry about this. I lost something and I'm trying to get it back. Here we go. There we go. All right, guys, the Madmen are coming. I as a leader, I knew that crazy risk was in front of me when God started hitting me more and more about leading people into the deep. And oftentimes people think that leaders should make it easy for people to follow them, and I totally disagree. People need to make it easy for leaders to lead them, because God calls leaders to lead people into ridiculously challenging and seemingly impossible situations. We see it throughout Scripture. Look at Moses, right? I mean, he was leading them ultimately into the promised land, but first into the wilderness of encounter, right? And so the people made it hard for Moses to lead. And they ended up dying in the desert. This is such an important reality. And man, don't get me started. I might start off on a tangent before I even start into my material. I was connecting with somebody that I don't even know online regarding a similar topic. And there was a response saying something like this, that it's leaders' fault. It's and I hear this all the time. It's the fault of leaders, and leaders need to do a better job of leading the people. Otherwise, here's the idea: if leaders don't lead well, then somehow people have the permission to revolt, right? But we see where that got Moses and the Israelites. And the mission is so important that leaders have to be able to lead in such ways that it's incredibly inconvenient, it's even offensive, it's troubling, and we're so passive in this nation, where we want it to be easy. We want leaders to make it easy for us to follow them. And I just, I wrote about that in my book. I think I wrote about that in Covens in the Church. I just don't believe it's biblical. And so I knew, long ago, that when I started calling people into the deep, that I was at risk of losing absolutely everything. Because most people don't want to go into the deep, because when you're in the deep, it's uncomfortable, it's risky, you lose control, it's hard, it's costly, And so I know leading people into that deep place was going to be just wildly offensive. In fact, I remember sharing a vision that I had with pastors. I was at a pastors meeting quite a while ago. This is a long time ago, and I saw the vision where pastors were on a beach with the people that they were leading, and the pastors made the decision to go into the water, and there was a whole bunch of people on the beach. And he's like, okay, guys, we're going to go into the water here. And they went up to about his knees. And he's like, come on, this is good. So we're going to keep it nice and safe here. And I really want you to come into the water. Well, something happened as there was a small group of people that not only did they go into the water, but they went past the pastor and they went into the deep. And I saw the pastor just troubled because he looked at those that were in the deep and he looked at those that were on the shore. And some were sticking their toes in and most were staying back. And he was conflicted. And he knew that if he went into the deep, where some of those who were supposedly under his leadership were now leading the way, if he went into the deep, that he would lose the majority who are still on the beach. And the call is to leave the majority who are still on the beach. The call is to simply present the biblical blueprint, the protocol. Take up your cross, die daily, right? Follow me as I follow Christ. And I'm telling you, to follow Christ means you are going into the deep. You're not holding back. And pastors, it's time. It's time that we move out into deep waters. And you might be surprised at who actually leaves the beach and follows you when they see that you're serious. The Coming Church, everybody, that book, you've got to get that book. Keep talking about it. The Coming Church. Barbara Yoder says, read with care. This is the future. Go to thecomingchurch.com. Brian Simmons wrote the foreword of this book. But the Coming Church, it's going to be a model of normal Christianity. And it will be so costly, offensive, exclusive. That's an offensive word. Challenging. That only the remnant will remain. And this is most certainly the plan of God. This is a wheat and a tare season where God is going to be revealing the true church. And, I saw somewhere online actually recently that the true church is actually the most inclusive, exclusive group that's out there. Meaning this, anybody in the world that wants to be a part of the true church can. But it's exclusive because the cost is high. And it's time that we renounce these false salvation theologies that simply say, repeat a prayer, really mean it in your heart, and you're saved forever. It's heretical. It's unbiblical. It's not true. And it's leading potentially probably millions of people to hell. Millions of people who are following Jesus in an unsaved condition. They think they're saved, but they're not. We've become such a passive church society that the abrasion that's coming will be wholeheartedly rejected by mainstream Christianity. False humility and superficial pleasantries are masquerading as spirituality, while truth is moderated to ensure it doesn't disturb anybody. So the result is a Christian culture that celebrates the shallows and merely acknowledges the depths as optional for those who may want to venture in. Let me read to you Ezekiel 47, starting in verse 3. It says, going on eastward with a measuring line in his hand, the man measured 1,000 cubits, and then led me through the water, and it was ankle deep. And he measured 1,000 and led me through the water, and it was knee deep. And again he measured 1,000, and he led me through the water, and it was waist deep. Again he measured 1,000, and it was a river that I could not pass through, for the water had risen. It was deep enough to swim in, a river that could not be passed through. And he said to me, Son of man, have you seen this? Then he led me back to the bank of the river. See, God is calling us into the deep. The time is coming when the deep is no longer presented as an option for the Christian, but rather it's the only hope for those who desire to truly follow Jesus. Prophetic awakeners will be boldly moving into deep waters and calling out those who are splashing like children in the shallow waters, while presuming themselves to be normal biblical Christians. These awakeners will be shocking and apathetic people like madmen. 2 Corinthians 11:23. Are they servants of Christ? I am a better one. Oh, I love that. Come on. Listen, stop and think about that. I mean, how mad do people get nowadays when people are wholeheartedly giving themselves to Jesus? Or when they presume elitism? Come on, let's be real. Let's talk about this. I mean, the prayer movement is accused of being elitist. Yet we see here in Scripture, somebody actually has the guts to make a distinction. You know, Paul's talking, are they servants of Christ? I'm a better one. Nice try, guys. I'm a better servant of Christ. That doesn't sound humble at all. It says, I'm talking like a madman, with for greater labors. He works harder. More imprisonments, countless beatings, and often near death. You know, we've fallen for the deception that we are all equal in our Christianity, and any type of distinction based on maturity, passion, or discipline is quickly hushed out of fear that the less committed will feel alienated. This fear is going to cease as prophetic voices will be calling all who are willing to go into the deep, and those who choose to splash and play will do so of their own volition. 1 Corinthians 3:1, but I, brothers, could not address you as spiritual people, but as people of the flesh, as infants of Christ. Ephesians 4:11, and he gave the apostles, prophets, evangelists, shepherds, and teachers to equip the saints for the work of the ministry, for building up the body of Christ until we all attain to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to mature manhood, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, so that we may no longer be children tossed to and fro by the waves, carried about by every wind of doctrine, by human cunning, by craftiness in deceitful schemes. Hebrews 5:11. About this we have much to say, and it's hard to explain, since you become dull of hearing. For though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the basic principles of the oracles of God. You need milk, not solid food. 1 Corinthians 13:11, when I was a child, I spoke like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. It's time, everybody, that we grow up and we get into position. It's time. It's the call of the hour. It's time to count the cost. Get into position. Run with passion. As the church that's worthy of the name of Jesus Christ. It's time to quit playing games. It's time to stop just allowing the cares of life to keep you out of the mission of God. It's time to keep all of your personal struggles out of the mission of God, out of the church of God. I'm telling you, man, it's time to go into the deep with other people. It's time to rise up as warriors. It's time to rise up as intercessors. It's time to lock into position. It's time. It's time. And don't think for a minute that you can't do it, because that would be an insult to the grace of Christ. I mean, we read this last night, 2 Corinthians 12:9. He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. Paul had a thorn in his flesh, and he's begging God to remove it. It says, therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me for the sake of Christ. Then I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, calamities. For when I'm weak, then I'm strong. So if your testimony is that you're weak, excellent. You're first in line for the job. The job is yours. You know, think about it. Paul refused to shrink back. He moved in great grace and he turned the world upside down. He ran, he fought. He knew his sole purpose on the earth was to advance the kingdom, and that mission burned in him night and day. 1 Corinthians 9:24. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. You know, Paul said to the people, follow me as I follow Christ. And he didn't say to Jesus, hey, wait up. Let's move at the pace of the people. See, God sets the pace, not us. And he has a steady pace. What do you think about this? You know, definitely, come on. Email me right here. You know, get into this chat room right here. thefurnace.tv/live. If you're not there, go there. Go to that web address, thefurnace.tv/live. There's a chat room right there. And head over there. Email me your thoughts. You know, what are you thinking about this? The time is now for the church to arise, for the church to awaken. What do you think about it? You know, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this broadcast tonight. I mean, if you have something to say, it's time to jump in and say it now. You know, think about it. You know, when you go hard after God, the fear is that others will presume that we're arrogant or haughty when we call them to join us, when we call them to go higher. After all, if we're calling them higher, we must think that we are already higher. So there's a tendency to avoid that. Just to you know, drop down to a kind of a median level where everybody can relate. And that's not going to work. Consider this. The closer we get to Jesus, the deeper we go. The more humble and broken we become, our own depravity, weaknesses, and struggles are clarified as the holiness and majesty of Jesus are magnified. The deeper we go, the deeper we have to keep going. The deep is truly the point of no return. When we go deep, that's when we get mature. That's when we allow God to remove the unholiness and the issues in our hearts. You know, that's when we become more intimate with Jesus. I can't imagine not going deep. I want to go deeper. I'm craving to go deeper. You know, secondly, what would the suggestion really be? Those that struggle with that. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of people out there that struggle. I bet you there's some that are watching this right now. You struggle with those aggressive ministries that are calling people higher and calling them deeper and calling them into fervency of prayer, and just there's a ton of people. In fact, Mike Bickle said it's the most offensive thing in the church today. The call to wholeheartedness is the most offensive thing to so many in the church today. But what would the suggestion be? It's like, wait a minute, I don't like that you need to be less intimate with Jesus. Be less intimate so we can, so we be relevant. If you're being too intimate with Jesus to be relevant to us, should we lessen our intimacy with Jesus and encourage people in their apathy so as not to offend anybody or invite division within the camp? You got to be kidding me. Matthew 11:6, and blessed is the one who is not offended by me. Matthew 10:34, here's a great passage. Through 39, it says, do not think I have come to bring peace to the earth. I've not come to bring peace, but a sword. I've come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a person's enemies will be those of his own household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. When I was in Colorado Springs, I called the church into the deep. My church there, Revolution Church. And when I did that, I knew that I would lose a lot of people. I'd lose a lot of money. A lot of the tithe would disappear, right? I knew that I'd even lose my reputation. As suddenly I'm not the guy I was before that was walking a little slower. And many would be angered that we were picking up the pace and raising the bar beyond where they were willing to go. I fully understood that there was a risk of killing Revolution Church when we did this. And it literally almost happened. Many truly thought I was a madman, and they were right. The remnant came alive to the call and ran with passion. But sadly, those who weren't given to this costly, fiery, normal Christianity broke away. They were few. Those who were truly burning were few and far between. And I decided early on that I'd rather have a small church on fire with Christians who are ready to invest their very lives than a church of 200 or 300 people who gathered around a space heater. And I knew I could have either one. I could choose. A church of 200 would provide a good salary, stability for my family, good programs, and in honey-dipped messages, would draw the socialites who would invest just enough to provide a cozy Laodicean environment for all of us. And I get sick even thinking of that option, and so does God. Revelation 3:16, so because you are lukewarm and neither hot or cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. In a world where lukewarm is normal, the common response to an extreme church environment is that it's not the appropriate church experience, that it's not typical for a Christian, even though some would agree that such a ministry has some value for some people. An extreme church culture to many is more like a parachurch ministry than a legitimate church. It doesn't fit within their definition of what a church is supposed to be and do. The accusation is that such an extreme focus is only for a small minority of Christians, and then most probably just for a short season. And I've spent years and tears attempting to address this fallacy. Normal church today is that of mildly committed followers of Jesus who put limits on their passion and devotion. It's the children splashing in the shallows. And this is not the Christianity of the Bible. Matthew 11:16. But to what shall I compare this generation? It's like children sitting in the marketplaces and calling to their playmates. We played the flute for you and you did not dance. We sang a dirge and you did not mourn. Revival Church here in Detroit is not an extreme environment. Can I get your attention? I hear so often, I hear two things. I hear that Revival Church is an extreme environment, a passionate environment, and I hear that I am an extreme. I hear it all the time, as if Revival Church is some sort of a parachurch ministry we just kind of specialize in passion, or that I'm some sort of specialized minister that just kind of has a niche, and I'm just supposed to kind of fit right in there. It grieves me when I hear that. You just can't be serious. I'm not that radical. Revival Church is not that extreme. This isn't false humility. This is real. I mean, check out a church in China. Check out a church in third world countries. Check out a church in Africa. Check out, churches in various different places where they know extreme. And to them, their extreme isn't even extreme. Check out churches where people are being killed as martyrs, and the underground church. And really, Revival Church is not extreme, guys, which makes it makes even more sense. If extreme was up here, Revival Church is about here, and typical church is about here. And all I'm asking is that you go from here to here. That's it. And then I want all of us together to go from here to here. That's the call. Revival Church isn't radical. I'm not radical. I'm serious. I burn hot, but I'm 44 years old. How radical can you be at 44 years old? The fact that I'm even using the word radical probably reveals that I'm not radical. Come on. I'm not extreme. I love Jesus. But compared to the user-friendly bread and breakfast version of the church that dominates the landscape of our nation, I guess we do feel a little radical, a little over the edge, a little specialized. Maybe something that's for the minority instead of the majority. And it just breaks my heart. Not because I want more people to stuff themselves into our church building. That's not it at all. But because the thought of extreme passion somehow feels specialized, uncommon, unwanted, unnecessary. It's insanity. The church experience in our nation has become more about living a wonderful life instead of dying a remarkable death. And pastors know very well that a focus on surrender versus benefit will result in empty pews and offering plates. While I would never presume to have a perfect understanding of the function of the church, I am confident on several points. And when I employed these critical elements into our ministry, I fully believed that the result would be a sound, vibrant, and biblical church. We are parachurch in no way. I want to alleviate the fear pastors may have of being accused of not being a legitimate church when you gather together to pray on fire and release the messages of the Lord. You are modeling the coming church. This is what the church will look like when the Reformation is complete. That being said, the accusations will fly, but don't relent. Stay the course, gather the people, and pray. Joel 2:15, blow the trumpet in Zion. Here's normal church for you. Consecrate a fast. Call a solemn assembly. Gather the people. Consecrate the congregation. Assemble the elders. This is what we need to do right now. Gather the children. Oh, but the church doesn't have a children's ministry. You can't be serious. Even nursing infants. Oh, I got to stay home and take care of the babies. No way. Gather the children. Gather the nursing infants. Now get this one. Oh, I've got things to do. Let the bridegroom leave his room. Let the bride and the bride her chamber. Saying the call is urgent. Between the vestibule and the altar, let the priests, the ministers of the Lord, weep and say, spare your people, O Lord, and make not your heritage a reproach, a byword among the nations. Why should they say among the peoples, where is their God? Here's the call. It's for every person who has made the radical and costly decision to follow the living God, to dive into the fire together. No matter how long we've known Jesus, our pace should be the same, intense and fiery. I mean, have you ever met someone who was recently radically saved? They can't run fast enough or burn hot enough, yet we've fallen for the deception that new Christians need to take baby steps. No way, no more. Extreme church is the only option in today's end-time climate. The formula is simple. It's too simple for most. Pray with fervent passion together with others several times a week. Read the Bible, believe it, respond to God's mandates with faith and obedience, pray continually, live in the Spirit, die daily, surrender all, be holy. This is normal church. It's a culture of uncommon holiness and passion for intercession, where we refuse to be amused by darkness and endeavor to slow the flow to hell with prayer and action. This is why we're on the earth. I believe we would be much closer to the true biblical model of the church if we did little more than pray nonstop in tongues for 2 hours on a Sunday morning. I think that's our call. What do you think? I'm almost done. Chat. Kick into the chat room. What are you picking up on? Email me. You know the email address. Right there. Just looking at some emails here, making sure I'm not missing any. All right. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not getting any chats tonight. Y'all sleepy? What's going on? What's tonight? Wednesday night? Y'all must be in a prayer meeting. That's good. Wednesday night prayer meetings. That's good. Yeah. As always, Nia is down here at my feet. I think I'm going to let her sleep. Yep, she's down there. Just sleeping away. She was snoring a little while ago. All right. Okay, guys. I let it burn a little bit. Don't forget what's happening. We got this coming up on Saturday. 4 to 6 p.m. By all means, show up to this thing. Don't forget what's coming up on Monday. 4:45 p.m. And don't forget, so into our ministry by ordering just beautiful web design, burtonsites.com. It's really helpful. It really, really is. It's a blessing whenever we get an order. And I'd love to just develop a beautiful website for you. All right. You guys are amazing. And let's see, today's Wednesday. We'll do it again tomorrow night. And see what happens then. All right? Blessings, guys. Talk to you soon.